basically based on the latest numbers. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me well? Or?
Yes, I can hear you, Mohan.
We can hear you perfectly fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So yeah, and for inviting us to share our experience in how we mitigate forced labor in our pharma refining operations, supply chain relations. So joining me today is I think we have presentation. My colleagues will also be joining me in the presentation. Pete who manages the palm sustainability space, and Nicholas, who handles the environmental health and safety in Calgary. I will also have my other colleagues, my colleagues of HR and all those who are managing foreign worker management is also joining us later. I know basically forced labor is I would say a critical topic that we all take seriously right now. And we always welcome a conversation on it, especially with all the attention has been receiving over the years, and also it has been more intense of late. And also, we also acknowledge that some of these forced labor indicators is also difficult to identify, but the science will be there. So we always need to be careful. We always need to further investigate on the level of the forced labor raised in our operations. Right? So, okay, I'm going to go off camera now because I think, we have always had the experience of lag effects and so on. So let's go to slide 1. Pete?
Yep.
Okay. Why is this meeting is being recorded? All right. Yeah, Cargill. So our presentation today will be we look at Cargill, or who is Cargill all about, what's Cargill all about, Cargill at a glance, and we look at our commitment, some of our commitment principles and values and so on, and then followed by how do I remove this? Okay. Then we talk about Cargill commitments, including on human rights, diversity, inclusion. And then Pete will take over in terms of the ILO indicators of forced labor, how we mitigate it in our operations. And then we have got also our Nicholas will take us through the health and safety aspects, which has been the past 2 years has been very challenging times because of the COVID pandemic, and how we are actually ensuring the health and safety of employees, at the same time minimizing disruption to operations and continuity of business plans and so on. And lastly, then we look at our supply chain and how we manage our supplier engagement in driving towards our Cargill palm oil sustainability policy. Okay. Yeah, Cargill. I mean, I hope, I'm not sure everyone knows who's Cargill. And for a start, let me give you a bit of background on who we are. Cargill, actually, we are founded in 1865, actually, in the US. Today, the company is about 157 years old. And purpose is actually we are actually a food-based company. Our purpose is to nourish the world in a safe, responsible, and sustainable way. And that purpose actually brings with us actually begins with our people. Any purpose, any commitment, anything actually begins with all people. And we have got close to about 160,000 employees across 70 countries, helping to address one of the biggest global challenges in food and agriculture. Every day we connect farmers with markets, we connect customers with ingredients, and people and animals with the food and they need to thrive. So basically, we understand that our own operations and supply chain that support the global food system must be sustainable, balancing the needs of today and with the needs of future generations. We have always acted on the belief, that doing the right thing actually sets the foundation for a very long-term success. Okay, next slide, please. Now, in the next few slides, actually, I'm going to take you through a combination of, the company's principles, commitments, policies, and values. Actually, I think all this actually sets the foundation for the company to identify and to, in a way, to identify and address forced labor risks and also to protect our workers. Actually, it's the Cargill Code of Conduct. Actually, I think many companies also have code of conduct, and many associations also have code of conduct and so on for its members and so on, right? So in the case of Cargill, our code of conduct actually is our company's ethical and compliance standards for conducting business throughout. Our code actually applies to all employees of Cargill and its companies worldwide. And in fact, if you see on the right-hand side, our code is actually grounded in 7 guiding principles. If you talk to if you bump into any of Cargill colleagues, Cargill, you ask them what is GP. I think more or less these guiding principles. I think the guiding principles are actually very much, the 7 guiding principles, very much ingrained in our culture, and they serve as a foundation for the behavior expected from employees. So you see, I'm trying to connect you all with how we manage also people. And whether we have got some foreign workers that it's under our wing, and they are also managed by people, right? In the day, it can be managers, it can be supervisors, it can be the HR team, everyone. End of the day. So like I said, this serves as a foundation for our behaviors, and every employee, including our foreign workers, actually. I don't know, sometimes you all use the word migrant workers, foreign workers. So I'll be using more of foreign workers here. We have got a Nepali workforce with us. So this workers also receives an introduction to Cargill's Code of Conduct. They understand what Cargill is about and guiding principles. And we also follow up by regular training to help ensure that the sections actually align with the company commitment on business conduct, environment, people, and communities. And this is not a one-off training. Everyone in Cargill, actually, even me for that, we go through all these refresher courses, we go to repeated trainings. I mean, they always say, we need to repeat, some things. So this is what we do. So the 7 guiding principles apply to all our employees. I think they provide the foundation for our operations globally. And every employee is accountable for following our code, and they exercise good judgment consistent with it. And I also like to express that the managers actually they set the tone for their teams, and they are often the first resource managers, right? The first resource for employees. I mean, even employees or even foreign workers. I consider this part of the team, right? They turn to with questions, right? You look at so as a result, managers and so on, we expect them to set a very strong example of ethical conduct. Provide training, education, resources to support employees in complying with this code. Encourage employees to speak up. Inclusivity is always there. We always encourage them speak up. You have concerns, issues, grievances, or even ideas. And we always encourage. There's no such thing as a stupid question. I tell everyone. You can ask anything. Because you're all learning process, and we want to know, we want to get the feedback, and then we can with all this informed information and so on, then we can make an informed decision or informed strategy and so on. And even if you have concerns, and we watch for, and even we also watch out for we have grievances for and for how to address all this. So if you look at the 7 guiding principles, actually, I think you start up, you obey the law. I think that's basic fundamentals, right? Company. Obeying the law is a foundation on which our reputation and guiding principles are built. As an organization, we are privileged. Like I said, we're privileged to do business in 70 countries today. And we have the responsibility to comply with all the laws that apply to our business. And in the case of labor, for example, we have the Employment Act, and we have got other related laws such as the Act 446. I think we have the immigration and passport law with regards to passports to comply with the environmental, and so there's no exemptions. So we need to obey the law. And then we have others like, we conduct conduct of business integrity. I'm not going to take you through all these things, but just to give you a snapshot of what the Cargill Code or guiding principles are. And then we honor business, and also we treat people with dignity and respect. And this guiding principles is not, it's just been there ever since I joined Cargill in 2010. It is already, and then it has been improved. Last time there was 8, and now there's 7, incorporated everything. And it's just been there since the 1990s. Just don't check what the chronology of events, So we treat people with dignity and respect. We achieve our purpose through our people, definitely, like I said just now, nourishing the world in a safe, responsible, and sustainable way. We provide a safe workplace and value the unique contributions of our people. So this principle actually covers areas like safety and health, strength to diversity, as well as harassment and violence, and so on. And then we protect Cargill's information, and we are committed to being a responsible global citizen. Next. Okay. Now, I think I have to admit, right, that even companies with a long history like us, doing the right thing, we also experience misconduct, and we have no expectation. And we are exceptions, I think, and reporting the misconduct takes courage, and actually, and it's the right thing to do. And we will not tolerate retaliation against, you can call it what, whistleblowers, or employee grievance mechanism, or foreign workers if they raise it or what, And we do not tolerate any retaliation against anyone who, in good faith, raises a concern or participates in an investigation. We take all reports of potential misconduct very seriously and handle them promptly, fairly, and as confidentially as possible. So if we have got, if an employee or foreign workers today have a concern about the conduct of any of our Cargill employee or anyone representing Cargill, basically you want to know. So what are the options available to them, for raising concern? You can talk to the supervisor or even your manager. You can, if you're not comfortable, you can talk to the situation where you can talk to your human resources. We have resources, and we have got group function leaders, trade unions, or even employee representative. But for example, if you're not comfortable doing so, or if whoever you have supervisor doesn't probably address the situation or whatever, you can always use or if it's not possible, or even if you remain anonymous, you can always connect with our Cargill Ethics Open line. It's open. We actually partnered with a third-party vendor to provide you with a secure and confidential method for reporting issues or raising concerns. And the Ethics Open line is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for employees, including our foreign workers, and third parties anywhere in the country. Somebody like Mohan, and if you want to call it ethics line, okay, go ahead. So we have got a very open policy. We have got an open grievance system mechanism, and even in terms of the ethics line is actually open to all sustainable practices and so on. So all workers actually have we have a native language access to our third-party which manages the ethics open line. If you can't speak English, then we can convey that you want to speak in Nepal, for example. Nepalese will be actually there'll be an interpreter. You just said, hold on, and take your you can always email, you can always call in, and anonymous to the fullest allowance under the law, and we do not tolerate retaliation at any purpose making good faith. So getting in touch with us, getting in touch as quickly helps actually to prevent problems and correct anything that have already occurred, so that corrective action, preventive action, and so on. And we handle all reports promptly, fairly, and as confidentially as possible. But you can find this, I'm very open about this. We can find this much of this information, like I said, on the code of conduct, on our guiding principles, and on our ethics open line. All these things you can get it in our Cargill.com corporate website. Cargill.com. Just go in and you can assess this information. Values. I think we believe in having one set of values. It's a powerful way to underscore how we are one Cargill together. As you know, we are in 20 countries, many businesses. So we have declared one set of corporate values for the entire organization. There, our values are, I think, quite simple, and straightforward. Do the right thing always, and people put people first, all our people, and also to reach higher. So this is, in fact, these values have driven us to become more of an integrated operating company, actually, and able to harness the company strategy, capital, size, people, and culture to create a very competitive advantage. Next slide, please. We also have a commitment on human rights, which we enhanced it actually. Earlier we enhanced it. This is the enhancement we did in February 2019 to detail the principles we embed into the policies and systems to protect human rights around the world. The commitment applies to our workplace, our supply chain, and our communities in which we operate. I think you can get this document in our corporate website. And some of the highlights I just want to highlight: we do not tolerate the use of human trafficking, forced labor, child labor in our own operations. We provide an equitable, safe, and supportive workplace for our people. We need to send, actually, it's more like zero fatalities, actually. We need to send every employee and contractor home safe every day, top priority. We respect the freedom of associations, and employees have the right to choose to form or voluntary join trade unions and collective bargaining. Foreign workers are accorded treatment and protection equal to other workers. We foster also an inclusive work environment free of harassment and discrimination. And we have also an anti-harassment policy. We have also an anti-discrimination policy in place. And just to share with you, our commitments on human rights reviewed for improvement, actually, involved in this subject, and we should be. I should think we should formally publish it sometime later part of this year. Next slide, please. Am I on time, Pete?
Slightly off, but we still can adjust.
Yeah, they're giving us 2 hours.
Until 11:30. But yeah, I think we can still make it. No problem.
Yeah. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Yeah, we're working hard to build a more diverse and equitable and inclusive team. And like I mentioned, we are redoubling our efforts on DEI. It's important to Cargill because company must be a place where every employee can bring their whole self to work, right? End of the day, yeah. And because we're doing the right thing and putting people first is our 2 core values, as I mentioned earlier. And we have been conducting a lot of annual DI programs across all locations, and like I said, the diversity focus on representation and inclusion ensures everyone feel welcome, and valued and heard, including our foreign workers in the company. And next slide, please. Okay. Oh, yeah. Psychological well-being. I think in the past 2 years, I think, as we all know, that the way we work, the way we live has changed completely. And it's since 2020, right? And now we are in 2 years already. I think it comes to The last MCO was in March, so probably 2 years' time. So I think one of the, we always emphasize on the psychological well-being or mental health is important. So we have actually the whole organization. We have set up a crisis management team from day one, actually, to look into to protect for the health and safety of all our employees, whether they have a plant or whether they're working remotely or virtually and so on. So psychological well-being is very important, I think. So we have provide training and resources for greater awareness. We also have, I think Nicholas will take you through some of this support that we give, employee assistance program that we have, employee support, adapting to new normal, providing support networks also. IT has been very much important when we had all this, we were doing more virtual communication, and organization I work, say, as well as we have various programs actually. In fact, we always encourage managers, because a lot of things we're doing virtual, right? Not we have a hybrid system at the workplace, operations. Yeah, we also had a lot of challenges in operations. We had the MCOs and so on. So we were one of those who were essential. So we were operating, but initially we were doing something like we were doing something like 50% actually at one time, fixed for 50% actually workforce in our plants, and then gradually we went to a conditional movement control order, and then we have recovery movement control order, and smack we went into another lockdowns and stop starts and stop starts and so on. So it has been quite a challenging year for all of us, including, I think, many companies. Next slide, please. Yeah. Cargill Malaysia was established in 1978. We are slightly more than 40 years old here in operating in the country. And actually, we have 5 businesses in Malaysia. We have the edible oil business. Actually, that includes vegetable refining and production of value-added products, And this is where will be our focus of topic today. Actually, one of our business that we look into, that is, where we employ foreign workers and how we try as much as possible to mitigate the forced labor risk, as well as protecting our workers there. We have animal nutrition. The animal nutrition is basically we are, we are a feed mill. We have 4 feed mills in the country, and they have been there in business since the 1980s, providing dominant is poultry feed that we give and supply to the farmers and some of the producers of poultry feed and so on, right? Poultry, what do you call it? Poultry for go-to market. We have got also our the grains and oilseeds distribution, basically more of corn and soybean meal that we import and distribute. And we are also into the sales and marketing of starches, sweeteners, and texturizers as a food for the food and beverage industry, as well as we got a very strong, actually, cocoa and chocolate hub, management and trading hub and overseas, because our plant is in Gresik, actually, in Surabaya. Trading team and the management team is based here in Malaysia. We are headquarters in Kuala Lumpur. We currently employ about close to more than 1,000, slightly above 1,000 people in 7 locations countrywide. Okay, next please. Yeah, all right. I think I've more or less taken you out to demonstrated. I think I just want to say that that the company can always grow and prosper while we adhere to a strong set of ethical beliefs, and actually the principles, commitments, values, and processes is ingrained or inculcated in our employees, which helps in protecting our foreign workers from the risk of forced labor. So now I hand over the floor to Peter Ong, who will take you actually more on the all on the edible oil business today, Cargill Farm Products in the Berhad, and our operations and our foreign worker management and in relation to forced labor. I think we will identify a few areas that we will focus on, a few areas that we will touch on. ODP.
Thanks, Mohan, for setting the tone and also sharing some of the work that we are doing, not just for Malaysia, but globally as well. So as you can see here, this is an aerial shot of Cargill's Port Klang refinery, which was taken quite some time ago. And just a quick brief history about Cargill Palm Products in Malaysia. We have about 334 workers to date, which includes the migrant workers that we have on our refineries. And we have 3 sites, as you can see. First being our KL office, which is currently based in KL Gateway Mall in Bangsa South, which we moved from Menara TM back prior to this. And then we have our Cargill Port Klang refinery, which was acquired back in 1991, still going strong. And then we have our Cargill Westport refinery, which we started from greenfield, started fresh back in 2011. So it's been quite some time already for all these 2 refineries, even our most recent one, which is Cargill Westport refinery. So this is just a quick snapshot of what we have in Malaysia for our palm business here. And right now, I would like to dive into the ILO indicators of forced labor, which consists of 11 indicators. And these indicators are actually very important to us because our operations are guided with these 11 indicators, and we are also subject to customer audits that covers elements from these indicators. So as what you can see here, which you can read from the slide, abuse of vulnerability, deception, restriction of movement, isolation, physical and sexual abuse, and so on. Our operations are guided by this, and we strive to ensure that none of these elements are associated with our work operations, and we are constantly reviewing and see how operations are, and we need to not just abide to this in our own operation, but also to our clients and our customers' requirements as well. So we are guided by this. And for our suppliers of palm products, the CPO suppliers that we have, they are also required to comply with these indicators as what we have in our Cargill Sustainable Palm Policy, or in short, we call it the NDPE, which is a common norm now, and also our supplier code of conduct that we have, which is very important for our suppliers to abide to, something that Mohan has explained earlier in the slides here. So NDPE, the ILO indicators of forced labor, these are all crucial indicators that guides us in our day-to-day operations here. So as you can see here, this is just a snapshot of the various standards that Cargill are complying with. We have the usual suspects, which is the RSPO and MSPO, halal. We are also ISO certified, and being key suppliers to our customers, we also are required to undergo several customer-based audit. One of them, as you can see in the bottom right corner, is the SWA audit, Supplier Workplace Accountability Audit, which was specific for McDonald's. We have the audits on Ethical Trading Initiative, SMETA and CDEX. So these are just a snapshot of what we do. And if you can see in just a snippet from the RSPO PNC in Principle 6, there is a specific mention of respect workers' rights and conditions, where 6.1 and 6.6, there's a mention of any form of discrimination is prohibited. No forms of forced and traffic labor are used within our operations, and even in MSPO, likewise, they mention about employment conditions, and what we have in our Cargill Sustainable Palm Oil Policy, NDPE, the SEDEX requirements, they all mention the same requirements as well. So we are guided by this, and we ensure that our operations are not associated with such negative practices, which we always strive to do our best. We are not perfect, but we always try to do as much as we can to ensure that we are on par with our own expectation as well as our customers' expectation as well. That is our aspiration. Yeah. So in terms of mitigating forced labor within our Cargill operations, as I've mentioned earlier, is guided by customer requirements on audits and other indicators, as well as our own internal policy that what Mohan has mentioned earlier. We have our commitment on human rights, anti-discriminatory policy, and so on. So we're guided by that. But for us, for this session, I'd like to share an example of the ethical recruitment procedure that Cargill is practicing, which is focusing mainly on the migrant workers here. And it's very important for us to ensure that everything that took place is done right from the start. So sharing this actual practice or actual scenario that took place back in 2016, in terms of recruitment of our migrant workers, it all starts from the recruitment agent itself, where we do a series of due diligence exercise, which very importantly, first to ensure that our selection of recruitment agents complies with with a series of requirements. They need to be they need to have a good reputation, reliable, and also obviously legally registered as well with proper license in place. And secondly, they need to comply and committed to Cargill Supplier Code of Conduct and policies that we have. So all these requirements we will brief with our list of vendors or manpower agency or labor recruiters prior to actually hiring them or getting them to support us in terms of providing our migrant workers. So once they have formally expressed their commitment to uphold our standards and which includes not using of a child labor, forced labor, and bonded labor, and they have and also a policy that indicates that there shall be no direct and indirect fees that will be incurred to workers, then we shall proceed with the next step in recruitment of workers. So in this particular situation, the manpower agency that we have hired has also signed an MOU with us that indicates that they will be committed to these requirements as well. And once everything is agreed upon, we begin the tendering process of migrant workers recruitment in November 2016. Yeah. So this is a snapshot of the foreign labor recruitment procedure that we have. And one of the key sections that I would like to highlight is the area that is circled in red, where no direct and indirect fees or costs should be charged to foreign workers for their recruitment. This is a very important point that we like to raise here. And during the recruitment process, in the pre-employment stage, as usual, we'll be requesting for the application of the foreign labor quota with the Ministry of Home Affairs, which was something that took place in December 2016. And once this is approved, then we begin the later stage of the process in 2017 January, in which Nepal was the selected source country for the workers that we will be recruiting. So the recruitment process will be managed between the local agency in Malaysia that we have approved, also engaging with the home country agency as well as a representative from us that will be leading this. So in this case, we will be sharing the hiring advertisements to the home country agencies to let them know that this is a series. These are the workers that we will be requesting and hopefully hiring for employment in our refineries, and then we also be alerting them the requirement processes in terms of how we run our business and ensuring that they will be compliant with our code of conduct to begin with. So in February 2017, this is something that actually was done on site, where we, together with our manpower agency, actually were on site to brief the potential candidates of our company profile. We share to them what is the job function and how work is being done. We have a contract to them in dual language to ensure that they understand the languages, which was both in English and also in their native language in Nepal, or Hindi. We share to them the salary packages and the accommodation of where they will be staying, and also indicated to them that zero recruitment costs will be incurred to them. So no recruitment costs will be paid by them. And this interview session is done by the agency and also Cargill representatives ourselves. And prior to all this, the recruitment fees will also be determined internally between us, and is 100% borne by Cargill. So nothing is actually being incurred to the workers, as I've mentioned. And workers also sign a declaration letter on zero recruitment costs, which is a snapshot that I've indicated here that will be signed by the workers themselves. Apologies for the blank spaces. We need to protect the identity of our workers as well as our agents. So we just leave it as that. But here I want to highlight that the area that has been highlighted in or circled in red, indicated that the management and Cargill will actually subsidize all agency fees and tickets and anything necessary, and no fees will be actually paid by the workers themselves. So this is just a snapshot of what we have here for our workers here. And upon arrival in March 2017, the workers will go through an onboarding process. And as usual, migrant workers, they will go through the FOMEMA test to ensure that they pass the test. They will go through orientation, induction, and training program as well. And as what Mo has mentioned earlier, they will also be informed about our Cargill guiding principles as well, because all these are applicable to all our workers, whether they are local workers, whether they're expatriates, or whether they are migrant workers that's coming from Nepal or whichever country that we are actually hiring. And as I've shown on the right, the migrant workers will receive a contract in dual language, and you can see on the top is English and on the bottom is actually in Hindi, in the native language that the workers will understand. Passports, very importantly, are returned to the workers. We only keep the workers' passport for the permit renewal purposes, but other than that, they will be actually keeping their own passports here. In terms of accommodation, this is still new. Accommodation that is provided to the workers are in accordance to Act 446, and this is a snapshot of the certificate that has been awarded to us by the JTK recently. And we have to date about 49 migrant workers today that is staying in the accommodation that has been assigned to them. Yep. And as I've mentioned a couple of slides ago, passports are returned to the workers, and it's also indicated in the employment contract that the employers shall not keep the workers' passports, and basically the workers will be keeping their own passports, indicated in their native language as well. So just a snapshot to everyone. And in cases of workers joining unions and all, basically there is no restriction for any workers to partake in any unions. It's optional for them, it's up to them. But existingly, we do have an established employee union under the Food Industry Employee Union, FIEO, since 1991, where during the session or any meetings, all terms and conditions of the union member employment are stipulated in the collective agreement and reviewed every 3 years. Any workers who wish to not join unions, they will be kept up to date on industry requirements via annual briefings. Twice a year, we have quarterly coffee sessions to have a more impromptu, informal session for them to share their issues, their thoughts, or anything that causes any disgruntlement among them. And workers can also directly engage with the management team, the HR, and also WhatsApp group that can be shared without the presence of the labor agency, in case if they want to raise any complaints or grievance against our labor agency. So the channels are for the workers in a more informal way. They can start by reaching out to the labor agency if they have any issues, but if these things cannot be resolved, they can resort to reporting directly to the site managers in Cargill. And as I've mentioned, informal WhatsApp group has also been formed so that they can actually share voice messages or WhatsApp messages for them to raise any complaints and grievances, because we cannot expect all our migrant workers to be able to use the ethics open line. They might not be comfortable with that, so we need to have a more informal way of for them to actually raise any complaints and grievances if they have any, or any requests. Yeah. So this is just a snapshot of what we have for our workers that we are planning. And just to reiterate that some of these are pre-COVID times. So we have group meetings for them to actually share, okay, what any issues that they have, especially on this. This is one of the sessions that we have with our workers, which is conducted on a twice a year basis for them to share any issues that they have on the ground, any thoughts, any disgruntlement. We have trainings for them to ensure that they understand how is the daily operations, and anything that they find could be an issue for them and they work. They can actually share their thoughts here. We have also festival activities for them during the Hari Raya. They can celebrate together, and also sporting events that we organize for our workers, which I am very lucky to be able to participate in one of them, where we have a futsal competition with them. So these are just a snapshot of some of actually our activities that we did for our workers while they are here. So hopefully COVID would not stay too long, and be able to conduct some of these activities together. Yeah. So okay, So that is just a snapshot of what we do to mitigate as much as possible any forced labor risk within our supply chain. So right now I will pause for a while and I will hand the session over to you, Nicholas, to share a bit on our COVID-19 management for Cargill. Nicholas, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Pete on. So you can move to the next slide, please. All right, so when you talk about COVID management in Cargill, so as we all know, COVID hit us like kind of a surprise. We are living actually in unprecedented times, yeah. And Cargill is also committed to nourishing the world in a safe, responsible, and sustainable way. So we know that we have to continue our operations, but then that's when COVID came and hit us, putting all kinds of restrictions. So what we did as soon as COVID began to hit, even before the government came up with restrictions within the country, uh, we set up what we call a crisis management team for Cargill, Malaysia. So this crisis management team consisted of the country director, who's Mr. Mohan, and all the business and function reps, and supported by EHS. And so what we did was our primary objective was to monitor the COVID situation in the country as a whole, all right, and then also see what guidance if the government is come up with, and also our corporate EHS has also come up with plenty of guidance on how do we manage the situation. Yep, and the guidance and the requirements have been evolving as the COVID situation keeps changing around the world. So we have to take stock of what are the latest requirements, and then we see how we are going to implement it specifically for our operations within Malaysia. So we are looking at two parts. One is prevention. So we try our best to prevent the infections from occurring at our workplace. And the other part is mitigation. So mitigation, if at all someone, if we have cases, positive cases, how do we ensure that these people who are found to be positive get the timely treatment, as well as minimize the spread of COVID amongst their fellow colleagues. Right. So some of the prevention measures that we put in the plant, you can see the work bubble concept. So work bubble concept is what we do is, like, for example, if we have a department, the warehouse department, let's say, so we divide the department into a few work bubbles. So within each work bubble, the people within that particular bubble are not allowed to interact with people from another bubble, although they're within the same department. So they cannot interact with anyone else within their department or even in another department, except for those within that specific work bubble. And we try to keep these bubbles very small, about 3 or 4 people. And so what happens is, if at all someone is found to be positive, we don't have to shut down the entire department. The department can still run. Only a few people, let's say 1 or 2 are positive, and then the person will only end up having like about 1 or 2 close contacts. So the disruption is minimal to the business. So that is something that we started out. We set it up for our plants, and right now it is still ongoing. Yeah, the work bubble concept. And the other thing is the contact tracing application card. So this is a card that everyone has, and it is linked to a live software. So what happens is this card does 2 things. Number one, if people are coming within 2 meters, in Cargill, the social distancing requirement is 2 meters, not 1 meter as required by Malaysia. So if people are coming within 2 meters, it sounds a beep, number one, and it also captures information of those who have come within 2 meters. So if anyone is found to be positive, we just need to log on to the system to see who are the close contacts of that particular place within the system. So it is all entirely automated, and we don't have to do a manual contact tracing for positive cases. The next bullet is on symptoms management procedures. So here, what we do is, if someone is having any COVID-related symptoms, like flu, cough, sore throat, fever, and even the not so common ones like vomiting, diarrhea, headaches, if you have any of the symptoms, we say that you have to go to your doctor, all right? And then you either get tested, or if you don't get tested, you need to be isolated for 10 days. And why we do this is because we realize sometimes things happen when people come to the plant. They are sick, they go to the doctor, they get maybe a couple of days MC, they come to the plant, and then after their MC, and then they could be COVID positive because they never did a test when they visited the doctor. So you either get tested, and if you are tested, you need to conduct 2 PCR tests over a period of 48 hours, or you isolate yourself for 10 days, you work from home, or you just isolate yourself without working with agreement with your manager, so that you don't create a condition where you can spread the disease to others. All right. So this was actually quite helpful for us. We realized that some of those with symptoms immediately asked them to undergo testing. Some of them, the initial PCR test was negative, but the second PCR test within 48 hours was positive. So this guideline actually comes to us from corporate. We have to do 2 PCR tests instead of just 1 PCR test when they're symptomatic. So that is something that we put in place. The social distancing, like I mentioned, it's 2 meters for everyone. And we're also doing a scheduled deep cleaning of all the plants. So we don't just wait for a positive case to come to do the cleaning, but whenever we also schedule it on a regular basis, on a monthly basis right now for all the plants. Okay, next slide, please. So this, our strategy in managing COVID-19, our corporate EHS has actually prepared what we call a health emergency planning and response framework. Okay, so I don't want to go through all the details here, but I'll just highlight the key points. So what this framework is talking about is how we are going to manage a positive case. If that positive case, if the person is found to be symptomatic and is within the plant area, or if the person is outside the plant. So if the person is within the plant, then we follow plan A. We need to arrange medical care for that person. There is also an isolation room set up. There's a medical team set up to provide medical assistance as required and ensure that the person gets immediate medical treatment as soon as possible. All right, and then we also assess the incident that is in plan B to ensure that all the employees, the rest of the employees are involved, those who need to be informed, the proper communication goes out to them. All right, and then we have to manage contact tracing. So with the contact tracing card, it makes it very easy for us. Previously, we were doing actually the manual contact tracing. We have to interview one by one, but with this card in place, it makes it much easier. And then incident notification, we have to notify the authorities and so on, and ensure that we also monitor the person was positive. We monitor on a daily basis to see how they are doing until they are fit to come back to the office. And Plan C talks about quarantine requirements for the close contacts, as well as people who are asymptomatic or those who are not Cargill employees who are outside the plant. So how we manage their quarantine requirements. And Plan D is about the very specific requirements that we need to adhere to. So Cargill has come up with, actually, I would say plenty of requirements which we need to comply with. So we have what we call a playbook actually in place for this. So all the requirements are specified there. Plan E is currently not really in place because Plan E was prepared initially when only some countries had a threat of COVID-19 while others hadn't had the threat. So Plan E is a preparation for countries which hadn't faced the threat of COVID-19. But right now, I think the entire world is in Plan D. We all are facing the threat of COVID-19. It's a pandemic now. And Plan V is with regards to vaccination. So involves how we're going to engage the public health authorities to manage vaccination for employees and also encourage our employees to get vaccinated. And within Cargill, actually, we don't actually mandate vaccination because the government has also not mandated it at the moment. So unless the government mandates it in the country, Cargill will not mandate it, but we strongly encourage everyone to get vaccinated. Right, and it also talks about initiating vaccination awareness campaigns. We had many talks with doctors to allay the fears of vaccination for our employees. Right, next slide, please. And support during COVID-19 pandemic. Yep. We have the COVID-19 external medical support services. So what we have set up is what we call a medical intervention team consisting of Cargill personnel, including myself, Mohan, and many of us are the team. So if at all there's someone who's found to be positive, what we will do is immediately we would monitor the person's health status. They will be provided a pulse oximeter. So on a daily basis, we get their readings. Yeah, and then if they have, and also the condition of the symptoms are monitored. And if at all they need any medical assistance, we'll reach out to our third-party service provider who can provide immediate medical assistance. So that is something that we have put in place. We've also provided like COVID-19 discretionary payment for all our employees in recognition of the hard work throughout, especially the MCO period when the plant was actually the capacity, like what Mohan said, was reduced to about 50%, and they still had to, the output still did not decrease. Yeah, so they had to put in extra hours. So we recognize them. And besides that payment, we also had other series of payment. We also give like all those frontliners in the plant, they are also paid like a daily allowance, additional daily allowance, and also a one-off payment of about 100 USD for all our employees as well was also paid. Extended COVID-19 insurance. So previously our insurance was not actually covering COVID-19 treatment. So we discussed this in the CMT and all the businesses agreed to come to bear additional cost for covering COVID-19 treatment. And right now it is covered for all employees. Free vaccination. So we actually got signed up with the PICAS initiative. PICAS is an initiative by the Ministry of Industrial Trade and Industry, which is focused for vaccinating employees from the manufacturing sector. So we signed up for this to get our employees vaccinated as quickly as possible. So what PICAS did was they set up like massive vaccination centers specifically for people working in the manufacturing sector. So we could expedite the vaccination of our employees. Free test kits. Yeah, we also got free test kits from SOXO. Quarantine support. So those who are under quarantine or under isolation, we provide food packs to them, and also like medical packs, like I said earlier, oximeters, masks, medication as needed, hand sanitizers. Flu vaccination. This was also something that we encourage all our employees to go for this, especially at the beginning when the pandemic hit, because we realized that if someone has actually got the flu, and if they are going to get COVID, they are going to end up in a much worse situation medically. So at that time, the COVID vaccines are not really available as yet. So we started off with the flu vaccination. So at least they are protected from flu. And even if they get COVID, the severity would not be so bad. And other things like cashless admission to non-panel hospitals, free medical checkups for those of 50 years old and above, and also extended COVID-19 outpatient coverage, especially for those who needed to go for COVID-19 tests. So anyone who needs to go for COVID-19 tests, right now the costs are covered by the company. All right, next slide, please. Yep, and Cargill has also Cargill, even before the CMT was set up, we also have this employee disaster relief fund. So this is usually a fund that employees can get some obtain financial assistance whenever there's a disaster. Like for the recent flood, we used it, and even for COVID-19, those who are impacted by COVID-19, we do provide some kind of financial support. So this is managed by HR, so they just need to reach out to HR to avail of these funds. And the other important part of it is employee assistance program. So this actually ties with mental health. So as we know, these are unprecedented times. People can't come to the work as usual, and many of them need to just stay at home, and especially during the MCO period. So we realized that taking care of everyone's mental health was of primary importance. And that's when actually Cargill, not only in Malaysia, but also within the region, we signed up for this employee assistance program. So this is some kind of a counseling service provided by experts. So if anyone has any problem, they just can reach out to the EAP counselor. There are some contact details provided. So it's not only available for employees, but also for employees as well as their family members. So any personal problem or work-related problem, if at all they face any problem or they just need someone to talk to, they can always reach out to our EAP counselors who are available 24/7. Right, Pete, I think this is my last slide. So back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. All right. So for the last portion, I would just like to go through the NDPE, which is deforestation, development, exploitation, and inclusion of smallholders in our supply chain, which is a policy that we have established earlier in 2014, which is specific for our suppliers here. So it's very important that we adhere to the policies that we have here, because we have our own commitments as well, and we expect our suppliers to also do the same. And then we shall see how we can do better when it comes to continuous improvement. So these are the key commitments that we have, and it's no stranger to a lot of us, are basically the NDP, because not just us having this policy, we have a lot of our peers out there, Bangi, we have Wilma, IOI, Fuji, all the folks out there are similar to us. They have a similar policy as well. So likewise, we have the same. Yep. So just a of practices and our program. Our journey way back in 2013, where we began our journey in terms of sharing our sustainability initiatives, and at the same time we are also working with Wild Asia as well to initiate our smallholder initiative. And these are some of the activities that proceeded until 2016, where we, as I mentioned earlier, 2014, we established our policy. We continue with our engagements with Wild Asia, and then we also have our supply assessments to understand how practices are. These activities continue on, and then but we realized that we have quite a significant pool of suppliers at that point of time. We had 3 refineries during then, and which constitute about 120 suppliers. So we realized that we are not able to actually do complete assessments or engagement with all our suppliers. Hence, we tweak our engagement slightly differently, and we actually moved on to doing a sustainability workshop, which covers element not only on environment, but we also covers element on no exploitation as one of the topics that we discussed here, to ensure that no forced labor is also not associated or linked with our supply chain. Yep. We continue on with engagement this to what we but but over time we understood that we can't work in silos, we can't work alone, and it's very important for us to collaborate with our peers as well, and to see how we can actually increase our leverage in terms of ensuring that more and more of our entities or actors in our supply chain understands the importance of sustainable palm oil and practices on the ground. So we engage with our peers, our partners to conduct workshops together. Our friends from Bangi have joined us in some of these workshops. We have Nestle as well that participated together, and then we also fund transformation activities as well to ensure that our suppliers are aware and continue to improve from time to time. So these are at least some of those initiatives that we've done. But very uniquely, as we all know, in 2020, COVID-19 hit us, and we need to do things differently as compared to how things were previously, where we used to prefer to do on-site engagements to understand how practices are, how we can do continuous improvement, but things were put on hold for the past 18 to 20 months, unfortunately. So we need to rely more on digital platforms as much as we can. But all those work is still in place. It's just that we need to tweak to current situation. Yeah. So that was what happened in 2020. Which is we to do more virtual supply engagements. The smallholder program continues on, and then we also participated in landscape initiatives and activities. And we are hopeful that in 2022, given that we are seeing more and more restrictions being eased, we hope to be able to conduct more of all these activities that we used to do previously. But of course, the very important element that we need to comply with is the SOP, to ensure that we are not spreading the COVID while we are doing the supply engagements on the ground. So all this initiative continues on the digital platforms. We have landscape initiatives and supply engagements. We will try to do more so that we can continue to spread the message, the positive message in terms of what needs to be done when it comes to sustainable palm oil and responsible practices on the ground. Yeah. And so, yep. So, and as I've mentioned earlier, COVID-19 challenges were quite prominent over the past 2 years. Although we had those challenges, we are lucky that our supply chain remains relatively the same. But we were not able to conduct work as what we would like to do, which is a supply engagements on the ground. We have travel restrictions, which actually hindered our process, but we try to do as much as we can when it comes to doing virtual engagements. So hopefully 2022 will be a better year for us to actually initiate such practices. So this is what we are actually looking forward to. Moving forward, anticipation of 2022 with ease of restriction, as I mentioned. Let's see if we can do more. We can engage more, have more presence on the ground, abiding to the required SOPs. And then we also continue to engage with our partners to ensure that we're able to do more continuous improvement programs, transformation programs, and see how we can do more collaboration activities together and with more usage of digital platforms here. These are just a snapshot of some of those activities that we have done previously that we would like to do in terms of engagements digitally, understanding how practices are. We have tools for transformation, which is something that our sustainability partner has initiated. Previously, we had site engagements. We would like to do the same. We had collaborative activities together to organize forums. So this image that you're seeing here is the ethical recruitment forum that was co-organized within our partners and attended by our peers as well. And yep, continuous transformation activities through workshops. If we're able to do that, this is something that we would like to also continue on with these engagements. These are just a snapshot. There are actually more activities that can be done, and we will welcome collaboration with more partners if we're able to do so. Yeah. So challenges, similar to the couple of slides that we mentioned, and I mean in Malaysia, specific for our supply chain, because we source quite extensively from suppliers that also source more from the third-party sources. So it's not easy to engage with suppliers that source 100% from smallholders or FFB dealers and so on. But yet this is something that we need to do to see how we can continue to bring them into our supply chain, which is something that we are doing. We like to encourage more of these folks to be here. It's complex, but we need to do all this together, and it's always important for us to engage things collaboratively to increase the leverage. We should continue to support standalone mills and independent mills, and then we understand that some of the suppliers, they might have issues that requires time to address, such as building new accommodation, for example. It's not easy, but this is a continuous improvement process that is actually on site that we would see, but we acknowledge that these are things that will continue to improve from time to time. It's a challenge, but what is life without challenges here? So actions to address, we will continue to follow up with our suppliers, whether it's about talking points regarding to environment or regarding no exploitation related topics. We will continue to get support within our own team, and also, as I've mentioned, collaboration with partners and peers can actually make a lot of difference, because when there's more push, there will be some pull that will happen eventually. Yep. So as a conclusion to the presentation, we will support cross collaboration among peers, subject matter experts, partners in the industry in terms of sharing practices to address forced labor elements here. Whatever that we are sharing right now, I would like to reiterate that it's not necessarily perfect, and it's not necessarily the best either. But it's something that we shared, that we've done so far, that seemed to work for us, and we hope that we can learn more from other peers as well that can share to see how they're doing, so that we can also adapt that in our operations, our day-to-day operations as well. So any feedback would be welcome. We should participate more on national forced labor action plan activities in our palm oil supply chain, and see how we can do more. And most importantly, we will strive towards continuous improvement, because improvement, we always look forward to how we can do better, and understanding how others are doing, so that we can always be on our toes to be a step ahead. I just wanted to share a quote. Maybe some of us might have watched Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire. In Spider-Man 2, he mentioned trying to do better. In the recent Spider-Man, he also mentioned trying to do better as well when he spoke to Dr. Ock. So same as well, we always try to do better regardless of when, even if it's 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we will try to do better, and we strive to do better. So that is basically it from Cargill. So we'd like to say thank you to everyone who is part of this exercise. And I guess now we are opening this session for Q&A. So yep, thanks everyone, and I hand this session back to Alia, yeah, or Julia.
Thank you so much. I don't know, Alia, are you there? Would you like to take this up?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, we actually have a lot of questions in the chat. So I think they're all addressed for Cargill, the speakers from Cargill. So if you don't mind, I can start asking the questions. It's up to the three speakers who would want to answer. But so the first question is from Mr. Alex. So Cargill bears all recruitment fees. Is there any intervention on the placement fees incurred at the sending countries by foreign agents?
I think Mr. Alex was trying to find out if Cargill extends monitoring over the processes that are done in the sending countries, and if Cargill is concerned about that. Because sometimes, as we've learned in the course of our trainings as well, the colleagues sharing their experiences, that sometimes agencies put extra burden on the workers still. So can this potentially happen without maybe Cargill not knowing?
Mohan, you're on mute if you're answering, yeah?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Very valid, actually. I think Norita can add. She's been very much involved. My colleague Norita, she's very much involved with this recruitment exercise and so on way back over 8 years ago. Yeah, we are very clear when we were recruiting that these are all the recruitment fees that we have got the fees associated at the host country or the source of origin, and also the fees that is associated in Malaysia. And we're very clear on that. And we have communicated from day one actually to both our manpower suppliers, go through our manpower supplier here, and they have the agent side. I think it's 1 or 2 agents, I think, that we have done the due diligence at that time, and we have got certain contractual obligations within them. We're very clear that all the recruitment fees as set will be just determined, will be paid by Cargill. And there is also fees that is paid to the agents over there. There's certain fees that is paid to the agents over there. And this is what that, and we also have advertised and communicated to all, it's like to all the workers and so on, it's like an advert kind of thing that, we shall be, Cargill shall be paying for all the recruitment costs and so on. Hopefully that, there's no, so that they will not incur any debts or anything like that, or hidden costs or anything like that, And so far, actually, based on our experience, we have not come across, we have been of any incidences of our workers facing any debts and so on. In fact, we have also in our briefing sessions, even before the interviews and so on, we are also very clear with them that this is what. Not only in terms of our, our job scope, in terms of, and how we want to do the whole process of recruitment and so on. So, Norita, you want to add anything else? She's my colleague. She's been very much involved in this foreign workers recruitment.
Yeah, Mohan. Hi, everyone. I'm Norita. Okay, to be add what been mentioned by Mohan just now, in terms of the home country recruitment fees, we have that details of the costing. Each of every single item include the agency fees. And beside that, we also have, to understand from the Nepal or the home country's embassy whether the range of these total recruitment fees is considered it will be the right numbers that we can have that overall sponsorship to all the workers during hiring. And we are very clear with the agency in the home countries that everything need to be sponsorship by us, because we have to be compliant to this requirement. And in fact that during interview briefing, by that time we already confirm with the candidate or the hiring of that workers. We also get the workers to provide us a declaration that they are not pay any fees to that particular agents or any extras costs which is hiring by under or Cargill. Yeah.
So you also haven't come. Thank you so much for your answer, Chandramohan and Marita. You haven't come across this when communicating with your foreign workers as well, right? That there was no incidents. So, okay, so maybe we ask one more question from Mr. Alex, who is asking if Brazil is participating in the recalibration program to regularize the irregular migrant workers. I think what he's meaning to
No,
ask.
Julia, I understand the question. We have not participated. We have not participated in any of these recalibration programs. We have not participated. I saw one more question also on wage subsidies and on pay cuts. No, we have continued to be business as usual.
How does Cargill deal with undocumented recruitment cost? Does it make any sense? I'm not sure if Wanadlin, maybe you could switch on your mic and clarify what you mean. Okay, meanwhile.
Let's take the next question, maybe. Yeah, let's take the next question first.
Cargill adopts ECG besides complying with RSPO and MSPO?
Oh yes, I think we have got we are very much into this environmental social governance adoption, and we have got our various we have set various science-based targets, and I think some of this we have also invested in very bold actions actually. We are talking about ESG, right? I think today the buzzword is all about ESG. Today ESG, and we are committed also to report progress against this goal. So we have got a few on the environmental side. We talk about climate change and we have certain targets, and I think there's scope 1 and scope 2 is about operations, and scope 3 is supply chain. And then we have about targets for also our water resources and land use and so on. In fact, we have a scorecard actually, and we have an ESG scorecard actually. And like for example, I can share with you all. I'm not sure whether it's in the corporate website, but like for example, in the scope 1 and scope 2 emissions operations, we reduce. Our target is to reduce absolute operational greenhouse gas emissions 10% by 2025, and so far by based on our FY's fiscal year. You know why we call it fiscal year is because our financial year actually is from June to May. Like for example, now we are midway through our financial year 2022. It starts from June 2021 to May 2022, right? So our baseline is FY17, and so far we have got about 4%, close to 4% reduction. So we have got our goals in targets for climate change, water resources, land use also, and in social we have farmer livelihoods, and also global impact contributions, and also inclusion and diversity. So I think I can share with the organizers in the ESG scorecard, and will be help to.
Does Cargill use the same human rights checklist rigor to ensure that the third-party FFB / CPO suppliers abide with the issues of forced labor as per ILO FL indicators?
Well, yes, I'll take that question. So thanks, Julia, and the audience for the question. The short answer is yes, because for us, when we do supply engagements on the ground, we also supported by partner as well, which is Earthworm. So these are indicators that we will be looking into, and very importantly, those elements on forced and labor. Those are the areas that will not run away from our exercise. We definitely look into how they manage workers, the passports, and how are the accommodations and so on. So in short, yes, we do have a checklist for us to see where in terms of our entities or our suppliers are doing, and we will continue to do that when more opportunity arises here.
Okay, thank you. Does Cargill have any pension plan program for the migrant workers?
Short answer is no.
Yeah. Okay. Cargill collaboration with WAGS, is it already being implemented?
Pete, it's on the WAX program, Pete. Yeah,
Yep.
AGS evaluation
Yeah,
group.
it's ongoing. This is something that has took place back in 2013. Yeah, so it will continue to take place. So we started with I think the first batch of smallholders, if not mistaken, I think it was 17 smallholders that were certified RSPO. Now we're talking of more than 300 smallholders that has been RSPO certified. Just to share, yeah.
Does Cargill
And just want to add, I just want to add here that, you know, at the end of the day, whatever the smallholders are producing in terms of the FIB, so we have got actually a supply chain that is very much part of the global supply chain, the certified sustainable palm oil. So we have got the mill also, which is actually an independent mill. It has got certified RSPO in terms of, and we have the FIB, which is processed by that mill, and that mill actually then supplies the certified sustainable palm oil to Cargill refinery. So in fact, and there's a premium to it, and this premium is then shared with the smallholders, and this has been going on, but it's a challenge. It's a challenge always, you know, trying to and then with the MSPO, this makes sense also because we have now a very good baseline, at least, you know, baseline kind of sustainability standard for everyone in the industry, because it's mandated, it's compulsory, right? MSPO compared to RSPO, which is voluntary. So that helps in the understanding of the smallholders, as well as the medium, what do you call it, small, medium-sized estates, even, you know, on sustainability. Yes, thanks, Julia.
well, there is a question that I myself wanted to add on to this something. If all migrant workers engaged with Cargill are coming from Nepal only, and I also wanted to ask a question: how do you assess what's the proportion of the foreign workforce and the local workforce, well, in Malaysia for Cargill?
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, most of foreign workers are, you know, are Nepalese, basically. Yeah, generally, all of them are Nepalese.
But can you gauge what's the proportion of the foreign workers?
And yeah, if we look at the entity of Cargill, actually, if we look at the Cargill palm products in Berhad, I think we have a ratio of about, in fact, the ratio had gone down a bit. You know, I think we were talking about the total entity of employees and workers in Cargill palm products in Berhad. We are talking about a ratio of 15% to 85%. 15% workers actually, and in fact, the numbers have declined actually, because 2 years, you know, and then and some of them have actually gone back actually, you know, and then we have the window for recruiting has been frozen, right, for the past 2 years, you know, 2020, 2021, and, you know, and then now it's, I think the window is opened up a bit, and then we had workers going back, you know, and so the ratio is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Norita, maybe you can, you know, you have the answer, but I think the last time I think was something like 10 to 15% versus locals.
If I may ask you to follow up on this question, is there any consideration within Cargill that maybe we need to switch to completely local workforce, or what's the convenience of keep engaging the foreign workforce? Have you conducted any kind of analysis? What would be easier and more beneficial to you? Is there any kind of thinking taking place?
Yeah, Julia, I think this is a very common question. End of the day, for most companies, you know, that first thing is that before you even want to recruit any foreign workers, we have to make sure that we follow the criteria, right, set by the labor department and so on. So we advertise all these jobs. From day one, we advertise these jobs. We go to the labor department. We have a recruitment drive for locals. And we even, in fact, I think we also have taken some people from Sabah and Sarawak, to come and join us. At the end of the day, I think like many other companies, also we find that the uptake is poor. I don't know. And then we have certain segments, for the foreign workers, like for example in the packing plant or in the pumping station, so we've tried a lot of avenues. The last resort is to go to foreign, and the attrition rate is also a bit more higher, and among locals, and so that's why we had to resort. But nevertheless, we are modernizing our plant today. We are modernizing our plant. We are investing in the Portland plant. We have upgraded the plant since we acquired it in 1991. We've been doing some upgrades, and now we're really modernizing the plant, and with our automation and so on, so that we hopefully there will be some further reduction in the need for workers. And then we are also upscaling we have got a project in place where we are, I think we have done some announcements on this. We are doing some specialty fats. Actually, the plant, I think in terms of almost the refineries, we have medium size actually compared to some of the big players, and we are all in the downstream value-added products, and we are also we are looking at real technical expertise, and which will be recruiting in the very near future. So yeah, it's a challenge, right? We are still trying anyway, and I think the government is also coming up with some kind of ratio, right? Kind of 80-20 or something like that. They want to. I'm not sure. It's going to be a challenge for many industries actually, and let's see how it goes. Hope that answers your question, Julia.
Yeah, understood that. Unless any of the participants would like to.
Anything else, Norita, you want to add? I mean, Norita or Tengku, you have been involved in all this recruitment exercise and so on with locals.
In terms of implementation, does Cargill explain to the workers about human rights and indicators through sessions or trainings? I think you partly mentioned it in your presentation, but there is a question about this. If you have any trainings explaining to the workers about human rights, indicators of.
Yeah, I think I'll leave that to the operational side. Norita, Nurul, you want to explain further on our briefings and so on?
Yes, we conducted training to all our migrant workers during the indoctrination training. So, and we also have refresher training early of the year on yearly basis to refresh on this for all the workers, including employees and also migrant workers.
Mm-hmm. And also the following question from the same participant concerning the freedom of association. Is there any informal WhatsApp groups that you know of, and other management members who are participating in those groups and monitoring what's going on there? Is there such a thing taking place?
Can you repeat the question, Julia?
Informal, are there any informal WhatsApp groups? I presume including the workers, and if anyone from the Cargill management is trying to participate in those groups and monitor what's going on.
No, I think we have a clear demarcation, union and the management, and I think we have a collective bargaining or a collective agreement, negotiations every. I think 3 years once. I think Tengku can attest for that, and we don't interfere. They have a freedom of association. They have the unions, and definitely if they have any grievances, any concerns, the union members will approach the management. But we do not participate in any of this their union? I think so. I may be wrong. Tengku, does the management participate in any of these union meetings and so on? Maybe Tengku can answer. My colleague was handling experience, she was very well versed in the union side of things.
Mohan. Okay, so for the union at this moment, it's only for local employee. But we also mentioned to our foreigner, they are free to join any association. How we mentioned to them, as mentioned to from my friends earlier, right? We do have a briefing. I would say that twice a year. Okay, in the briefing, right, we do inform them that who needs to, they need to contact in case of they have issue, they have any problem, whatever, I would say that grievance. Okay, so we do highlight and also we post at all the hostel, the person that they need to reach out in case of they having any grievance. And then during the briefing also, we do have a small talk with the employee, like one-to-one conversation, which is what Nurul just now mentioned. Okay, one-to-one to identify if there's any, I would say that, ill treatment from any local supervisor or maybe anyone, which is, you know, it's maybe very difficult for them to voice out. So we do have that kind of, I would say that communication in place. So another question here, we said someone from Chua said that freedom of association, who monitor the informal WhatsApp group? Yeah, we do have a WhatsApp group, which is, I would say that this WhatsApp group of our foreign worker being managed by our supply chain manager, and also ER lead, which is myself, is in the WhatsApp group to monitor if there is any issue, voice out to the management, and also, you know, take appropriate action to manage it with the workers appropriately.
Yeah, Tengku, the question, the additional to that is that, yeah, we have got our engagement with, we have separate engagements. They're not part of the union. We have has presented earlier. We have got various engagement with the migrant workers, you know, and briefings, trainings, and engagement, and you know, in various channels and so on. But do we participate? Does the management participate in any of these union meetings? That was part of that is a part of the question. Besides,
Yes, we do have meeting with our worksite committee, and we also do have a meeting with our food industry union committee, which is FIEU. I would say that twice a year, maybe we visit their office. They also come and visit our plant. So our engagement with the union, trade union, is quite, I would say that, established quite for a long time. So we have a very good relationship, which is to ensure that our employee, which is part of the union, can communicate to the union committee and to the management directly. But of course, we do understand that, you know, certain thing that the employee will go to the trade union, and trade union will send us a letter, and then of course we actually will take it, all the dispute, and bring up to the management to discuss that. Is it good?
And I think Chua had some addition to this question. If workers are not part of the union for whatever reason, do they still have pathways through which they can raise issues that concern them? Like, can they contact the management directly or in some other way?
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We receive a lot of this question during the audit, like, you know, CDAC audit and all that. Of course, we do have the process in place already, where the employee, even the migrant worker, will have all the contact number up to our plant superintendent. Okay, so of course, the process will, the migrant, the employee, the foreign worker will go to the manager first. But if not solved, then the issue is not solved, then they can actually actually directly go to the one up manager or also to our plant, up to our plant superintendent or to the HR. And they also can raise individually, I would say that personally via WhatsApp to the management team, which is I'm also part of the team in the WhatsApp group. So they can actually just, message me and say that I have this issue. So we will take it seriously. Yeah, we do have documentation on all the grievances or dispute that was maybe a channel from foreign worker to the management or to anyone. Yeah.
All right.
And regarding the working condition, salary, I would say that whatever dispute, okay, whatever if they say that, the salary is not enough or anything, yes, we will take it to the management and we will discuss how to handle it.
All right, thank you. I think to also follow up on the same topic, if there is any worker survey done to gauge their satisfaction with working at Cargill, a survey to gauge worker satisfaction.
Yeah, I think maybe I can answer that. Hi everyone, my name is Zarina from HR. So I think we do have annual survey, and actually by country or even by global, Cargill itself to actually send out to our employees. The first one is about employee engagement survey. So we send out to our employees once in 2 years. So our results is actually above 85% satisfaction from our Cargill Malaysia. And on top of that, we do have also survey from by business as well to actually gauge the feedback from our employees. And for information, recently we actually participated in HR Asia Awards, and we actually have sent a survey to our employees. And our employees have correspond to the survey, and it actually the results are good, and we actually have won the HR Asia Awards for best companies to work for in Asia. So to answer that questions, so we do have regular survey, even annually, even country level, global level under Cargill worldwide, and also via business as well, to ensure that we receive the feedback from our employees.
And just to add, I think engagement survey has been ongoing for, annually, or, and what happens is that if there's a gap, there's some things that, the numbers, sometimes below, certain benchmarks and so on. That's where we then we have to review and see, and how we can further improve our engagements, and why is that gaps there, and how we can further enhance and improve the process.
Okay, there is a question, I think a little bit departing from that topic, from Ong, asking, recently the overseas social activists or NGOs like Mr. Andy Ho, which I think all of us are familiar with him by now, have been highlighting forced labor on a few local oil palm companies and rubber glove manufacturers. Has Cargill Malaysia been visited or reported by any of those activists? Something that you know of, maybe a on-site visit, or have there been any reports lodged against Cargill by activists, NGOs?
Well, not at this point of time. But I think one thing to note also is we do not have mills and plantation in Malaysia. Hence, maybe that's the reason why there is no visit from this Andy Hall at this point of time. So that's probably the short answer as of now. But I wouldn't discount the possibility that who knows, maybe eventually something might happen. But yeah, this is something to share. Mohan, if anything you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, palm industry has always been in the radar of many activities, activists and NGOs. It's been going on for many years actually. And like Pete says, our footprint is in Indonesia. Our footprint is in Indonesia, and we have got plantations in South Sumatra, and we have plantations in Kalimantan Barat and so on. So yes, there has been some in the past. There has been some attacks. I think way back when I joined Cargill. certain NGOs, listing down various allegations and all these things, and we responded and so on. I see way back. And yeah, I think we are all, that's why, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, when it comes to whether it's forced labor, whether it's environment, or whether it's governance and so on, I think there are many companies. The problem with palm, I think today, is that we are having a trust deficit in palm, perception for palm, but there are a number of good players also in the industry. I think something like, in one basket, one bad apple in the whole basket, is considered, I think there are a lot of RSPO members. RSPO is one, RSPO certified, big plantation companies are RSPO certified, and RSPO is a very stringent standard, very robust standard. It has, since 2008, it has been going through various revisions in the principles and criteria and so on, and it's not easy. And that's why it's for an integrated player, it's fine, but for an independent player, it's very challenging. So yeah, so they're always in radar. So like we emphasized just now, that we are doing our supplier engagement, and hopefully there may be, if there are gaps, where are the gaps and how do we identify the gaps, and working with them in order to raise their standards. It can be good agricultural practices, it can be yields, it can be health and safety, it can be on forced labor, on various aspects. But I think in the this year and in the years to come, we are looking at more of on emphasis on more on the labor side of things. Yeah. So yes, we have Mr. Andy Hall has not visited us yet.
Well, Andy Hall is in Nepal based, so I doubt that he would set foot in Malaysia for some observable period of time. But yeah, if in Indonesia.
But yeah, I would suggest that, sometimes you have to give the, benefit of the doubt, or, allegations and so on, but at least give the company a first chance to respond, to this.
So here's the next question, I guess, related to it. It's from our colleague at Magma, Ms. Garija. You are in palm oil business, and so is FGV and Sandarbi. Hence, what is that is done differently that sets Cargill apart from these two similar giants? Do you see some politics in these two being sanctioned?
I
can repeat.
What's the question? Let me see. Is it in the chat box?
Oh, yeah, so there it's from Ms. Garija. There are.
Okay, maybe I should ask
Yes.
Mr. Mohan. Hello, Mr. Mohan, and hello, the team from Cargill. Right. Since you are in the palm oil business, right? And so is FGV and Samdabi, so on. So what is it that is done differently that sets Cargill apart, like something very significant from these two similar giants? Do you see some politics in these two being sanctioned? I know it's a bit controversial question, but what do you think?
Very delicate. Take it very delicately. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know whether there's any politics and so on. Politics or no politics, and I think like I said earlier, forget about CBP even. I mean, there's been a lot of allegations in the past. There has been some by certain NGOs on even our Cargill operations, and which we felt that were false allegations, and we responded based on facts, and we are also sometimes associated with this supply chain play. One of the biggest challenges that we have today is that because we are an independent player. What makes us different? I think we are a refinery here, in Malaysia, in South Sumatra. Let me tell you something about our operations in South Sumatra. They are RSPO certified, and they are. I mean, you go to Indonesia and they tell you that if you want to. The Cargill plantations is a model to emulate in Indonesia. We in terms of our practices, in terms of welfare, in terms of supporting the smallholders, everything. I think that is our plantation. I can't compare what is what is there. I'm not sure. The Sindabi is also, very reputable, and they have got a huge, they are all RSPO, and more or less 100% RSPO certified and so on. And so I don't know whether it is, I'm not sure. I don't think so. There's much politics there, but there could be, so whatever the findings that whoever has done whoever done the allegations and so on, and now CBP has imposed the WRO, and we are also engaging. I mean, it affects us in a way, yeah, because you must understand that they are huge players in the industry. Yeah, Sindabi and also FGB, they're big players in the industry. Yeah? They are because of the size. And definitely, if you were to if you go to export to the US, and with this WRO, we have to do a supply chain risk management there. That comes with it. Because you cannot have your product that goes there, and definitely it disrupts the supply chain. And then we have to look at, if we are planning to export to the states, and how do we have to manage the supply chain so that the origination has to be carefully monitored. So to answer your question, I can't really say, but what I can only advise is that my advice is that hopefully they're doing all their audits and so on, and independent audits, and hopefully they can lift these WROs. And the other thing I think I would also suggest is that companies, you communicate. Communication is important. I think when this is, we had this with FGV way back in 2013, right? In the Wall Street Journal days and so on, and we had a lot of engagement with FGV, and I think they progressed a lot actually, over the years, and we always have this suggestion. I mean, we always, tell all our supply chain that, communication is important. Communication and progress and sustainability is important. Communication and what you do, it can be small, it can be communicated, and so that we are very transparent and very open, and we know where you are heading in the sustainability journey. I don't know. I don't know whether that answers your question or not. But
does it?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mohan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chandra Mohan, for the answer, and Gurita for the question. Are Cargill buyers accepting your RSPO and MSPO products as labor compliant, or do they find that it is insufficient in addressing the forced labor issues and requiring Cargill to conduct extra specific social audits like SIDEX, META, or SWA? So are your buyers totally satisfied with RSPO, MSPO stamp on it, or they require extra audit like SIDEX?
Yeah, Pete, you want to take this?
Yeah, I can give a go at this. Well, personally, I mean, one thing to be clear, yeah, we do not instill or insist that all our suppliers must go through SEDEX or SMITA or SWA, or they must be RSPO certified. Let's just put it this way. But if they can demonstrate that their practices and how they're managing their workers and so on are labor compliant, for us, we'll be happy to accept that. But of course, at the same time, we need to acknowledge the fact that not everyone is perfect. I think this is something that we need to be clear, and there's always room for continuous improvement. So let's say if we do see suppliers that has areas that they want to improve, they want to reach out to us to do any transformation program, we are more than happy to do so, and to see how we can continue to strive to push them to a level that they aspire to be. Cannot accept or expect that all suppliers that we buy from, they are all 100%. I mean, if we look at the current situation right now, even the big plantation companies, I mean, it can't get any bigger than Sime-Darby and FGV. They are also subject to scrutiny. So there will be areas that has gaps and room for improvement. Let's put it this way. But I think the more key important pillar that we're talking about is how suppliers are responding to us and how they're willing to move towards continuous improvement. And if this is something that they're willing to do, there's always ways for us to address things. And yeah, and not everything can be addressed overnight. Yeah, I think it's something that we need to be clear as well. Even the issues on passport return or passport retention, it's not something that can be addressed overnight. It is something that takes time, but we are all getting there. It's just a matter of how long. Yeah. So and there's no fixed answer to that as well. So just wanted to reiterate that. Yeah, we're not expecting all our suppliers to do SEDEX or SMITA or SWA or RSPO. But if they're all willing to move towards continuous improvement, that is something that I would say that everyone will be welcome for that. So this is just maybe an answer for Mr. Ong, and thanks for the question as well.
Mhm. There is a question to Ms. Zarina. Can you share what is that 15% unsatisfactory response? You mentioned 85% are above satisfactory level. So what falls under the 15% of unsatisfactory?
Okay, thanks for the question, Subramaniam. So to respond to this, I think for the past 2 years, I think not just Cargill, Malaysia, but I think almost all companies are having are facing challenging in terms of the engagement. I could see to our employees, yeah, to answer to these questions, we are actually focusing on 2 areas, especially during this pandemic. So one is about virtual training, and the other one is about virtual engagement. So I think this pandemic have limited us into these 2 areas. I could see. So upon the what you call the results, so we actually focusing on how to enhance these 2 areas. So we do actually encourage our employee in the blended learning approach, like digital and also face-to-face training. It actually covers for both technical and also soft skill, and what you call we covering for both digital self-learning and also a group-based learning. For engagement, so I think we what you call focusing more on virtual engagement initiatives. Example, like we conducting mental wellness initiative or programs from external and also internal speakers. This is actually to enhance the psychological well-being initiative and also to ensure that our employees are happy even they're actually working from home. And apart from that, we do have also a lot of recognition programs that we do this virtually. This is to ensure that we continuously recognize our employees, even as this during this pandemic. There's a lot of other engagement initiatives like new hires, coffee sessions, onboarding sessions, and a lot more. So I think to answer that question, so we enhance more virtual initiative for training and also engagement.
Thank you. Well, I think I managed to voice more or less the questions that we had. There was a suggestion from Mr. Alex. May I suggest a clear no placement fees charges on migrant workers in the company guidelines, because debt bondage started from placement fees activities. He formulates it as a suggestion, but if any of our panelists would like to comment on this.
Yeah, I think
Go ahead, Mr. Mohan. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like I said, this we have this policy, right? I mean, sorry, we have this procedure right now. We just set way back in 2017, right? And I think we are also learning, and we are trying to improve further, enhance. Thanks for the suggestion. Definitely, we will be scrutinizing and reviewing our procedures, and we will be looking at how to enhance it further. And we have not been recruiting anyone for the past 2 years, and now the window is open a bit, and then we are looking at how do we is there any intention to recruit, and what will be the cost like, what is our procedures like. The government has come up with some. So yes, we will review. Definitely we will take all these things into consideration, and how to minimize the risk of debt bondage. Especially, yes, we have gone in the journey and we have started it on ethical recruitment and zero recruitment, employer principle. And is there any areas that we need to identify and to minimize or to eliminate the risk of enforced labor? in this our recruitment exercise.
Thank you for the comments. Cargill, since most of your experts are non-certified, look like maybe forced labor is not an issue for these buyers, only it's an issue of pricing. I don't quite understand what's the question in this, but
no, I think the fact is that you can add Pete. Just give. I think the fact is that when you say our exports are non-certified, I mean, we have MSPO. MSPO means that by default, everything is certified, right? We definitely we supply RSPO, certified sustainable palm oil, if there is customers demanding for it, right? And whether it's mass balance or whether it's segregated, and there are actually many customers actually which is in our who actually we engage and are very and always want to know where we are on our deforestation, no PMX, by our NDP policy. Basically our sustainable, we have got various engagement with them. We update them where we are today in our supply chain, and we also produce a scorecard, annual report on our sustainable journey. So that doesn't mean that there are that doesn't mean that that our customers are not can be anything. It can be environmental or social. It doesn't mean that our customers are not concerned about the palm sustainability practices on the ground. Anything to add? You can add, Pete.
Yeah, I just wanted to add whether a supplier is okay. Maybe just to be clear, our suppliers are a combination of RSPO certified and non-RSPO certified. But like what Mohan has mentioned earlier, even they are not RSPO certified, they are mandatory to be MSPO certified. So there's something just to be clear on that end. And even whether they are certified in whichever matter, whichever certification scheme, forced and bonded labor would always be an area that we'll be looking at. So I just wanted to share that for our suppliers, for CPO, for example, we instill a series of sustainability terms and criteria for them, and one of them is to ensure that their practices are in accordance to the NDPE requirements. Not only of us, they need to also establish their own NDPE policy to begin with. So it's something that they need to know that these are the practices that they should not be in place to begin with. So that is one. So and in terms of pricing, it's not something that I will be able to dictate, because this is something that is strictly a discussion between the traders as well as the CPO suppliers themselves. But if, for example, they are a long-term contract suppliers to us, then this is something that a discussion will have been made to dictate that this is a price that they've been agreed between us and the particular entity. So that's just something I wanted to share when it comes to our suppliers. I would say that when it comes to forced and bonded labor, it's a no-no regardless of where we are. So we try to ensure that our suppliers are in compliance to that, and we also like what we've done previously in 2016 to 2018 when we did workshops, we try to encourage them to understand what are these indicators, what constitute as forced labor. And a lot of them, sometimes they didn't realize that actually keeping passport is an indicator of forced and bonded labor. And these are elements that we try to reiterate and remind them that if you don't know at that point in time, it is fine at that point in time, but it's how we wanted to see how they can continuously improve on that end. And it's always a never-ending discussion also when it comes to forced and bonded labor indicators. So it's a matter of how a supplier try to improve from time to time. And there's a lot of reading materials out there. Our partner Earthworm Foundation has set up a website on tools for transformation for suppliers to look into, okay, what can they actually do to understand what are the risks that could be associated to forced and bonded labor. So it's how they want to utilize this information to improve themselves, because there's only so much that we can do as a buyer. Sometimes as a supplier, you will also need to take initiatives, and I'm very confident that there's a lot of suppliers that are actually taking initiatives for continuous improvements, and this credit should be given to those that are actually doing the right things, and how we can continue to work together. This is always a very important element. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your answers. I'm afraid that I think we have to have a cutoff point somewhere, and I think it's been a very enriching discussion and a glimpse into your work at Cargill. And I would like to thank all our panelists today, Mr. Chandra Mohan, Wang Pit On, Mr. Nicholas, Ms. Zarina, and others from Cargill who joined us today, as well as our participants for attending the session. So yeah, unless there are any final thoughts, any final comments from our colleagues at Cargill, then I would like to wrap up the session.
Yes. Yes, thanks, Julia. Thanks again, once again, to the organizers. Thanks to my team for joining this session. When we were invited for this, we were thinking of how best to, it's such a, and how best to, frame the presentation and so on. So thanks to the team for, and we try to make it as inclusive as much as we can, and I just want to say that, I think we should, I think the industry is actually, I think we should, I think, look at, some kind of platform where we can have some cross collaboration actually, among the industries in how we can share best practices, in order to tackle forced labor, in tackling. And when you have more people, teams, whether whichever industry, it can be the palm industry, it can be the rubber industry, it can be, the electronics industry. It's also seeing that, some kind of cross collaboration in how we can improve our processes and so on. So that is kind of continuous improvement. And actually, we have our palm oil, what do you call it, group, palm oil collaboration group, yeah.
POCG, Palm Oil
Collaboration Group. Yeah, Palm Oil Collaboration Group, with our partners, and also we are actually knocking at the doors of the Labor Department and saying that give us an opportunity to participate in some of this. So we are looking at how we can also participate in the National Forced Labor Action Plan activities, and how we can participate and help create awareness, help the industry capacity building and so on for the players in the palm industry, to minimize or to eradicate forced labor. And in fact, so this is some of it. I think there's still a lot of work to be done and to address these challenges. But thank you for the opportunity for us to share some of our practices. We're trying to also improve, enhance, and hopefully, there will be more progress.
Well, we would only, on our side, encourage you to expand your participation in tackling forced labor, especially for Malaysia. It's such an acute challenge as of lately, due to international trade restrictions and also the overall image of Malaysia. So your input, especially if you're setting a good example, will always be valuable to the industry, to a number of industries. And also, I guess you allocating time to be with us here today, it's one of the examples of your engagement already. So we are very thankful for that, you coming and sharing. Thank you so much to Mr. Chandra Mohan and all of your colleagues here that you found time. And after thanking you for all this enriching session, and I can see that someone is already sending greetings with the Chinese New Year even, that we're all anticipating another round of celebrations. I had an announcement to make for our participants because it happens to be our final session for the series of trainees that we conducted by the University of Nottingham, Politics, History and International Relations. And I shared a link to our Facebook page. Please do follow us. We're not extremely active there, but whatever important updates that you need to know about this project, other projects that we run, we are starting another project with ILO, hopefully sometime soon. It's even a bigger one. The current project is supported by the British High Commission. I can't afford not to say that and to thank our colleagues at BHC for supporting us all the way, starting from the High Commissioner and his colleagues in there. Everyone will be receiving certificates of participation for each session in the due course. Please have a little patience unless you already received yours. And that's why we religiously are asking you to every time register for the session. So in case you haven't received yours, please do let us know. I realize that there were over 80, around 90 participants for the session today. At its peak hour, overall, we had like over 160 for some sessions. So it kept varying. If you have or know any colleagues who need to get in touch with us with regards to the project, please do let them know also that we are finalizing the series of trainings today. And again, a big round of applause goes to Cargill for helping us to wrap it up. And I think we had a very light and at the same time engaging session, and experience sharing is always a good way to wrap things like this up with a bright outlook for the future. All right, I think that will be all from us and from our colleagues at Cargill today. Thank you, everyone. Do not hesitate to contact us. And Mr. Chandra Mohan, whatever you share, whatever materials you share with us after the session, we'll be forwarding them to the participants for today.
Thank you. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. It's a good session. Thank you, and have a nice weekend ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.